What's going on, guys? Dawkbro back again. Hope you're fantastic today, and welcome to the finale of Fazbear Frights number 3. The last story is the new kid, and if you remember last episode, I talked about the new kid a little bit, saying that it's a story about a new kid comes to town, and they go to a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and there's a Golden Freddy there, okay? It's basically like that, but it goes very, very deep into that. Very, very deep, and oh god, okay, so the ending's crazy, very confusing but crazy. And then I've got to talk about the Stitch Wraith part as well, which is mind-blowing at that point. The Stitch Wraith part is crazy, okay, for one specific reason, which I won't spoil yet, but it's to do with like Remnant and stuff. Did that spoil it? No, it didn't, because I didn't explain it. So yeah, we get some more information about Remnant and stuff and how it works, which is really cool because we can fit it in with the games. I know that the books are in a separate universe to the game lore, but Scott has said that some parts of the stories can link within the game or be connected. So yeah, let's talk about the new kid first. Let's give a mini review. I liked the second part of the story, okay? There was a lot of parts what could have just been cut out. Like, for example, the previous story, Room for One More, it just went straight into the action, and there wasn't a lot of character development. And with the ending, I'm still confused by it, and I don't know about what you guys are going to think. It's pretty confusing, but I kind of get it and I kind of don't. It's a weird one. It's a weird ending. So yeah, I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10. So guys, as you can see, I've got a lot of tons of notes on this one, pages. Let's go. The new kid. So the main character is Devon, okay, and Mick. Devon and Mick are best friends, and yeah, they're quite nerdy kids. You know, they don't have any friends, just them two together. Devon's a weirdo. Okay, I'll say it now. Devon is a weirdo. So, it starts off with Devon reading a story in front of the class, and it talks about like two twins going into like a clown tunnel, and then they go into the mouth of a clown and they get chomped up and killed. And then Heather, a girl in the class, gets really upset about it, and the reason why is because it was a horror story to do with Heather's twin sisters. So Devon made up a story in front of the class, a horror story about Heather, a girl in the class, twin sisters getting killed and munched by a clown. And he only did it to get Heather's attention. Even if it's bad attention, Devon wants attention from Heather because he likes her. So he is a weirdo. So you can already tell that Devon is not a nice person. You know, a weirdo. Now, this story is set in modern times. We know this because the internet is accessible. They've got cell phones and stuff. They've got phones. So yeah, this story is set in modern times. And again, Devon goes on about how Heather noticed me and talked to me. Heather said that my story was sick. And then Mick's like, I think she meant sick as in a bad way. But yeah, Devon's just a weirdo. But they have a clubhouse, guys. So every day after school, they go to a clubhouse through the woods, through a train yard that stretched for miles, these woods. And there's an abandoned gas station there, and they've hanged out there for 6 years, Mick and Devon. So they have their own clubhouse, basically it. So you can see how they're quite secluded. They just hang around with just both of them because the rest of the kids at school think they're quite weird. And then the next day, guys, the gas station's gone. So the gas station got demolished. So you can see where this is going, okay? The original clubhouse is gone, so they're going to go and search for another one. Where do you think that's going to be? You get the idea. But yeah, just a lot of like uninteresting stuff, I'll be honest, for this part. So are they going to find a new clubhouse? Devon thinks something new is coming, something big. He keeps getting Heather's attention. He's good. So Heather's going to keep noticing Devon. He's in a good mood. New things are coming. But ironically, he says something big is coming. And this is what happens the next day. Kelsey is the new kid. Kelsey is the new kid. A good-looking chap. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Great smile. He didn't look like the kind of kid who would be friendly, according to Devon. Okay? And very good looking. And he could make anybody feel good. He's a new kid. And everybody likes him, okay? Everybody talks to him. He's going to be popular. He's going to be a popular kid. So, you know, a wealthy kid. Dad's a contractor, owns a big farm. The parents do. But compared to Devon, Devon didn't have a lot of money. Devon was with a single mom who was a cleaner. Devon's dad left him when he was younger. So you can see where this is going to go, okay? Kelsey, popular, good-looking, rich. Devon, not good looking. Heather doesn't like him. Jealousy is going to happen, which is going to cause consequences later on in the story. Interestingly, though, Kelsey wanted to be friends with Devon and Mick. So Kelsey comes over and they have a conversation about stuff and what they do and what they like. And Kelsey laughs at jokes and stuff. So Kelsey likes Devon and Mick. So they become friends. Heather, the girl, comes over to talk to Kelsey, and just Kelsey, okay? So you can imagine Heather walking over and going, "Hi, Kelsey, how are you doing? Do you want to hang out?" And then looks at Devon and goes like, "Hi." Do you know what I mean? So you can see what's happening. Devon didn't really see that. Delusional. It feels like he now fits in with the school, okay? So, he's friends with Kelsey, which means that, you know, the whole school's going to be nice to him now, and you know, he might become popular. And then Devon just has this confidence burst, right? So he goes up to Heather to give her advice on a movie, right? And Devon says to Heather, "You should make a horror movie," but gets rejected, gets called unoriginal, and then Heather's friend calls him a weirdo. But like Heather like pokes him on the chest saying like, "You're unoriginal." So Devon's like, "Oh my God, she touched me." Weirdo. Devon is obsessed with Heather now. So that's all Devon can think about. So Devon has a brainstorm. Instead of finding a clubhouse, he's now thinking, "Oh, how do I get more attention from Heather?" So Devon's focus was on Heather all of the time. And Mick didn't really like that, obviously, because Mick obviously knew that Devon was being delusional. Kelsey at lunchtime comes over to Devon and Mick with some chicken sandwiches for lunch to give them. So Kelsey's a really friendly person, but Devon is like, you know, he sees Kelsey and you know what I mean? He's like, this isn't right. Kelsey was making friends with every kid in class. How did he do that? In Devon's mind. Kelsey talked to you like he actually cared. Was it an act? Kelsey was starting to get on Devon's nerves. Jealousy. And Devon says an interesting point here, guys. He's like, "I just want to go to Kelsey and poke him to see if he's a robot." Okay? So Devon basically thinks Kelsey is like not a real person. Something's up with him. And then Kelsey looks at Devon, right? And stares into Devon's soul. Okay? While he's thinking these jealous thoughts. And Kelsey nods at him and like he understands. It's so weird. So then they talk about a clubhouse, guys. The best places to hang out are abandoned buildings. So Kelsey has a great idea, and interestingly, it's not the pizzeria. Kelsey doesn't lure them into the pizzeria at any point, guys, okay? Please remember that. Which is why I thought the story was really weird with the ending. So, Kelsey's parents bought a huge farm The huge farm was historical, apparently. We don't know why. But it has an old workshop at the back of the farm. And Kelsey says, why don't we make this old workshop, you know, our clubhouse? So it's not even a pizzeria or anything. It's just an old workshop at the back. Interestingly, Kelsey knows how to build things. And they could make the workshop together as a new hangout. This Kelsey kid knows how to build things. He's a nice person, you know, he's smart. Kelsey had a neighbour called George, okay, an old man called George. And Kelsey has a phone, so modern times, and texts George to ask George. He texts George to ask him to take them all to go and get some supplies to build the workshop and make it into a clubhouse. And Devon's really excited. Mick's really excited for this. This is a great idea. Now, they talk about something in class now, guys. All of the class together. And the teacher asks the kids what they think justice means. Justice. And Kelsey says, justice balances the scales. Okay, from bad to good. Devon's crush thinks in a weird way and says, I think justice is payback. Okay, which is not the right thing to do. While the teacher is debating with Heather, like, why do you think that? Why do you think justice is payback? What if the payback is bad? You know, it could be anything. The payback could be beating somebody up or something. And Heather says, accidents happen. Remember that. Accidents happen. And the whole class laughed at that, apparently. Apart from Kelsey. Kelsey did not laugh at that joke. So, after this class, Devon and Mick are really excited to go and get supplies for the clubhouse, okay? And then, they all meet up outside George's big red truck. And they say hello to George. He's just an old man. No relevance to him. He's not important to the story. So, when they're all about to go to the store to get some supplies for the clubhouse, Heather comes along with her friends. And Heather goes to Kelsey, why don't we do a building party? And like trying to flirt with him and stuff, like, hey, Kelsey, why don't we have a building party at your clubhouse? Trying to get involved and trying to get rid of Devon and Mick to get the attention on her. And Kelsey does seem annoyed by this. So Kelsey, annoyingly, because the truck's only allowed to have like 3 people in or something at the back, and that not everybody could go, Kelsey had to decide whether to go to the store with Devon and Mick or Kelsey and the girls. But George has an idea and says, hold on, we don't need to do that. Let's just do 2 trips. So I'll take you and the girls to the store now, and then I'll come back for Devon and Mick. And obviously, Devon is not happy with that. So they all go. Devon and Mick are now sat down at the school waiting for George to pick them up. So Devon is not happy. Devon feels betrayed. You can see where this is going. So originally, Devon is jealous of Kelsey. And now more jealous because of Heather trying to get along with Kelsey and not him. And now Kelsey is at the store with Heather and her friends building a clubhouse. Okay? So Devon goes home and so does Mick. They both go home. Interestingly, Devon seems to be back to his normal self again. He seems okay. He seems happier. He's still obsessed with Heather, obviously, but he seems better. And the reason why he feels better is because Devon has found a new clubhouse. I did what Kelsey suggested. So Devon has found a new clubhouse. You can see where this is going. Devon found a pizzeria, the abandoned pizzeria, okay? And Devon seems like he's got a plan. Devon grins at Mick in a sly way, like Devon is up to something and Devon's going to do something bad. And then this is the turning point where you know Devon is a bad person, okay? Devon has turned into a weirdo. We already knew that anyway from the start with the weird story about the clown. But when they're walking through the woods on a hike, a crow like poops on Devon's shoulder. So Devon picks up a stone and throws it at the crow, and it kills the crow. Direct hit. And Devon says something really creepy to Mick, like, if you want the crow, a wing would make a better fan. Because they were going on like an item hunt. So in the forest they'd say, okay, let's find a leaf. Let's find something that you can use for a fan. Like a wind fan. So yeah, Devon says, if you want something better, a wing would make a better fan. So now Mickey's like, what the heck? That's weird. Devon's a weirdo. So now, Devon, the next day at school, okay, Devon is acting extremely weird now, like he's up to something. So he tries to act normal now. He says like catchphrases and stuff, and he's nice and friendly, like an act. So Devon's acting friendly towards Kelsey. And then Kelsey talks about Heather in front of Devon. And Devon's like, yeah, that's okay. But you see that he's not happy. So it says that Devon gets a muscle twitch like that. So yeah, obviously Devon is still jealous. Devon says, let's go to the abandoned building, to Kelsey and Mick. Let's go to the abandoned building. I found something. You're not gonna believe what I've just found, you know. Getting them all excited. And the building is in the woods again. Far in the woods this time. Not like right close like when the gas station was. About a mile into the woods is where the building is. And they've never heard about it since they've been born. Okay? Never heard about this location, this pizzeria, okay? So they make their way into the woods and they find the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, okay? We know it's a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza because the sign, the sign is covered up, guys, but it says like P. So we know it's a Fazbear's Pizzeria. It's not a Fredbear's Family Diner, okay? The building has lost all of its colour. It's still intact, but you can tell it's almost collapsing, okay? And it's covered by blackberry bushes, thorny bushes all covering it. And interestingly, which I love about this pizzeria, the front of the building is shaped as a Freddy head, okay? It's like sunk in a little bit, but you can see like the windows, the eyes of Freddy, and it has like a top hat on, like a bowler hat. For the front of the building, which is crazy. Some of those have been made before. In the book specifically, it talks about how there used to be like a shark gift store, and to walk into the building was a big shark head. It's just like that, but for Freddy. So to get into the pizzeria, you go into the Freddy head, okay, and then the entrance is there, and then you go inside, which I thought was really cool, because we always thought that the pizzerias were just like a building, okay, but this one in the book has like a theme to it, you know. It's not just a building with a sign, it has a Freddy head to walk into, which I thought was really cool. So they go at the pizzeria, guys, and they see that it's like a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and they try to go on their phones to Google search it, okay? They want to look it up. They want to look up what's happened, like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, never heard of that before. That's interesting, okay, guys? So since they've been born, they've never heard of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So at this modern time, where they live, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza does not exist, okay? It's gone. It's been abandoned where they live. We don't know where they live, but it's gone, okay? So they try to look it up, guys, but they have no phone service. No phone service around the pizzeria. So they think that's quite spooky. How like this location is like blocking signals and stuff. It's probably because it's haunted. So to get into the entrance, guys, into the Freddy head, they had to crawl under bushes. There was way inside if you crawled under the bushes. You can't go anywhere else. It was covered, swamped by thorns and bushes and stuff, so they had to crawl under the thorns and get like nipped and stuff by the thorns. But yeah, they managed to get inside. And Devon says that he found this place on Friday night. Okay? It's now Monday, apparently. It's now Monday. So he found this on Friday night after, you know, Kelsey and Heather went away. Devon and Mick went home. So Devon decided to look around for an abandoned building. 'Cause, you know, he's upset. He's like, oh, I don't want to be in their clubhouse. I don't want to be in his workshop. We're going to find our own abandoned building for me and Mick to hang out with. You know, it's going to be much better. I hate Kelsey. I'm jealous. Blah, 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 blah. He says, like, the location found him. So, again, it's to do with the luring. So, Devon was looking around for an abandoned building. The pizzeria lured him there. Okay, we've spoke about luring in the books. You know, how a location or an item can lure a person into getting it. So they managed to get inside. I think Kelsey cuts his knee or something like that. So he's got blood. Blood exists in him. He's not a robot. He's a person. Or unless it's really fake, I don't know. But there's blood coming off his knee. So now they're in the entrance to the pizzeria, okay? And the door's blocked off or something like that. But there's a side window, okay? And the side window can get you into the pizzeria from the entrance. So they climb through it. They put like tape on the glass because the glass is broken. So they all go through it, nice and easy. And then they make their way into a square room, which is basically the main party room. Okay? It's a nice description, guys. I'll read it to you now. It's really cool. They stood in the middle of a huge square room lined with pictures of funky animal characters, alternating with crazy and colourful geometric patterns. A domino-like stack of chairs sat against one wall, and another stack of tables lined the other wall. At one end of the room, a stage. Its red velvet and fringed curtains pulled back presided over the room. And on the stage, Creevy! Mick was rooted to the dirty red floor. His gaze latched onto the three figures on the stage. What is that? A chicken? Kelsey asked, gawking in the same direction. I think so, Devon said. Why does it have a cupcake? Mick asked. Maybe it's a baking chicken, Kelsey said. Devon couldn't help himself. He laughed. Good one. Mick laughed too. Yeah, his stomach growled. I wish that was a real cupcake. Come on. Kelsey walked towards the stage. Good. He was getting into it. Devon smiled. He and Mick followed Kelsey to the stage and looked at the figures closely. The figures seemed to be looking back at them, but of course, that wasn't possible. Devon had to admit he was more comfortable being here today than he had been the day before. Yesterday, he had been spooked. He only came back today because... So Devon has been to the location more than once, okay, guys? He only came back today because... So Devon's got a plan. What is Devon up to? They're animatronic, Kelsey said. Yeah, Devon said. That's what I thought. Animatronic? Like robots? Mick asked. Sort of, Kelsey said. Animatronics can be powered in different ways. Sometimes they use pneumatics or hydraulics, sometimes electricity. Sometimes they're computer driven. How do you know all that? Devon asked, in spite of himself. Dad worked on an amusement park resort project once. They had animatronic birds. Why a chicken, a rabbit and a bear? Mick asked. A chicken, a rabbit and a bear walked into a pizza joint, Kelsey said. And all three boys laughed. Kelsey was a funny dude, Devon had to admit. Too bad he had to go and... Mick gasped. Is that a hook? To the left of the stage, a cave-like protrusion, shrouded in a black heavy curtain, announced itself to be Pirate Cove. Devon hadn't looked behind that curtain. Devon had not looked behind that curtain. Something about that hook dot dot dot. Come on, he said. There's more to see. You can see that Devon's up to something. Devon's came to the pizzeria more than once and looked around and he's found something, okay? And it seems like it's going to cause harm towards Kelsey. So it is a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, guys. Bonnie, Chica, Freddy and Foxy are all there on stage. They're all still there. And it's like, again, the location still has its animatronics on the stage. It's like it's just been abandoned and left. They haven't took the animatronics. They've just left them there. And all of the tables and chairs are there and everything. Like, not in the room, they're like put against the wall. But you can see it's like the Fetch story, okay? When the kids went to the pizzeria in Fetch and they went inside and it was like everything was there still. Just a layer of dust on top. Like everything was still in place. The pizzeria was like a time warp. It didn't have a trashed vibe. Like no one else has came into the location since it's been closed. So they're the only people who have been in for what, like 30, 20 years? Who knows? They wander around, they look around everywhere, okay? And one point I need to make, guys, which is interesting, and I don't know why this is mentioned, but you can kind of theorise about it later on. So when they go into the kitchen, all of the pots and pans are gone, okay? But there's some bottles of water next to the wall inside the kitchen. Bottles of water are still there, okay? Remember that, please, because that might be important later on. They go inside the office as well, and there's a locked cabinet in there, and they think, oh, maybe we can unlock the cabinet and see what information we can find about this location. Annoyingly, that never happens, and I wish it did, that they went in the file cabinet and we got some juicy lore of what this location was, where it is, and why it was abandoned and stuff. That would have been really cool, but it never happens, unfortunately. Never happens. When they go into the bathrooms, though, they hear something sliver through the walls. Okay, they hear noises in the location. So to me, it's like they're not alone. Something else is there. I think it's just the location being haunted. It could be rats. It could be anything. But again, we don't know. It's never said what these noises in the location are. But I think it's just haunted. Okay? Devon then takes them into the storage room. And what do you think is going to be in the storage room, guys? Storage? Mick asked. This is what you want us to see? Devon grinned. Yeah, come on. He pushed the door to the storage room open, shined his flashlight into the room, and stepped back so they could see. It was like looking into some deranged person's closet. Headless animals hung on long rods that lined two walls of the room. Well, okay, not actually headless animals, but headless animal suits. The suits were dingy and dusty. Some were dark with mildew. They all looked stiff and ragged and ratty, with fur missing in places. On the opposite wall, 3 rows of shelves held animal heads, bears and rabbits and birds and dogs. Dogs? Every head looked a little battered, like it had been used as a bowling ball or something, but the eyes were in place in all of them. They all stared straight ahead, like they were lined up for a roll call. Screepy, Mick said. Devon looked at Kelsey. Kelsey's eyes were all bright. He started poking around in the cabinets that lined the walls on either side of the door. Look at all this stuff, he said. He pointed at bins of nails, screws, brackets, wires, and what looked like metal joints. He whirled and grinned at Devon. You're a genius, Devon. I think I can salvage one of those suits and maybe build our own animatronic character for my hangout. Devon couldn't help but notice the use of the word my. Last week, Kelsey said, ah. A sound similar to rushing water filled his ears. He was pretty sure it was blood racing through his veins in excitement. "Look over there." He gestured for Kelsey to follow him and went to the back of the room to a small corner closet. His feet made raspy scuffs along the floor that sounded bizarrely menacing. Devon had found the closet when he was here the first time, partially hidden behind the costumes hung on the inner wall of the room. He had seen the potential in it, and that had given him his idea. However, it was his second visit that had locked it down, so to speak. Kelsey glanced at Devon, then grasped the closet's metal handle. Stepping back and to the side, he slowly pulled the door open a few inches, satisfied nothing was going to jump out at him. He opened the door the rest of the way. Devon's flashlight beam reflected off a pair of big round eyes. Mick crowded in behind them. "What's that?" Kelsey reached for the arm of the human-sized yellow bear standing in front of them. Devon knew what he'd discover. The arm was heavy. This wasn't just a furry suit like the ones hanging on the rods. This suit was. "It's an animatronic suit," Kelsey said. "It has animatronic abilities, I guess, but it can be worn like a costume. I've read about some cutting-edge stuff they're doing with these, where you get in and the suit reads your vital signs and responds to your pulse and temperature and stuff. Some can even respond to specific commands. Let the wearer speak in the voice of the character. I'm sure that's not what it is though. It's too old. I wonder how it works." He pulled on the arm again. "Let's get it out in the open. I think it will take all three of us." "Sure," Devon said. "We can do it." This was going even better than he imagined. He thought he was going to have to talk Kelsey into this, but it looked like he was going to do it all on his own. It was like it was meant to be. So they all drag Golden Freddy out into the main room where the animatronics are on stage, in the big square room where the tables and chairs are off to the side. So Devon says to Mick, "Why don't you go to the storage room again, Mick, and go and get some screws and stuff so we can take Golden Freddy to use at Kelsey's hangout, okay?" As soon as Mick left the room, Devon said to Kelsey, "That bear looks like you." "Huh?" "Well, not as cool, but his hair's sort of the same colour, and he's smiling like you usually do. If you got this suit working, it could be like your mascot of your hangout." Kelsey grinned. "That's not bad." He leaned over and took the bear's head in both hands. "Does this come off?" He tugged, and the bear's head released from the suit. He looked into the top of the torso and sniffed. "Doesn't smell too bad. No worse than the rest of the building." "Nope, I noticed that too." He nudged Kelsey and grinned. "Try it on." Kelsey studied the suit's neck opening, then shrugged. "Why not?" He sat down and started wiggling into the torso. Once in, he said, "This is pretty comfortable." He grinned. Now the head. Devon had just clipped on the head when Mick shuffled into the room, dragging a stack of plastic bins. "No lids. I'm not sure how we are going to be able to take this stuff out." He stopped and stared at the bear on the floor. He looked around. "Where's Kelsey?" "I'm in here," Kelsey called out. Mick's eyes widened. "What are..." Kelsey sat up and said, "I'm not sure how to stand in this thing, but hey, I could whack." He began throwing his arms around in dancing moves. When he threw both arms out to his side, an ear-stabbing metallic clap resounded off all four walls around them. The clap was followed by a fingernails on a blackboard scraping sound. As abruptly as it started, the scraping sound ended with a loud slap. This triggered a cascade of snapping sounds, like dozens of steel animal traps springing into place, one right after the other. Kelsey started shrieking with the first snap, and the sound wasn't the bad part. It was bad, yes, but the bad part, the really, really bad part, was the way the suit started jerking in a spastic, horrific dance. It looked like the moth-eaten, blotched gold bear was convulsing. But it wasn't the bear. Devon knew it wasn't the bear. It was Kelsey. What did I do? Devon thought. What's wrong with him? Mick yelled. Devon jumped. He'd been so mesmerised by Kelsey's suffering that he had forgotten Mick was there. Kelsey's shrieks stopped, like someone or something had severed his vocal cords, and the suit went still. That's when Devon noticed it was turning red. Deep, dark, wet red. Is that? Mick pointed. He dropped to his knees. That's blood! Yeah, that was blood. Devon sat back on the floor and pulled his feet tight to his body. The blood saturated the bear's matted fur in seconds and began pooling on the floor. Devon stared at the moving blood. It looked like it was a living thing. A thinking red liquid lake stretching out, seeking. Devon scooted even farther away. He groaned and dropped his head into his hands. So, Kelsey gets spring-locked, guys, okay? And that wasn't Devon's original plan, but it's so weird how Devon's mesmerised by Kelsey's suffering, okay? And the blood, like a really nice metaphor of the blood, like being drawn out of the suit, like it's trying to get in contact with Devon, okay? Devon's original plan, guys, was to prank Kelsey. Devon's original plan was to put Kelsey into the suit and leave him as a prank, okay? And then come back, you know, like for an hour or something. Like leave him in the suit for like an hour or something. As a prank, okay? As a joke, okay? A very twisted joke, but, you know, not like killing him, okay? So Mick's like, oh my God, was this your original plan, Devon? You've murdered somebody. You're a murderer. So Devon and Mick have a big argument on what's going to happen. Devon previously went to the location before, right? And he found the Golden Freddy suit. And he saw the suit and he says, the suit has these locking things inside. Once you snap it into place, it's almost impossible to get it off by yourself. So Devon's plan was to trap Kelsey inside of the suit for a little bit to prank him, okay? He didn't know that these spring locks would actually kill Kelsey, like actually go inside and, you know, poke inside of him and kill him, right? So he didn't know that. So obviously Devon is very, very, you know, scared at this point, okay? Because Devon didn't mean for this to happen. He really didn't. Although it's very twisted what he planned, you know, Devon was just jealous and he just wanted to prank him a little bit, okay? So, this is the worst thing that you could do, okay? What they should have done is, like, pried open the suit and got him out. Even if he was dying or injured, he was still alive in the suit. Because when they were arguing, there was still, like, little murmurs of talking from the suit. So, Kelsey was still alive at that point. And Devon decides to leave him. Okay, Devon says to Mick, we've got to leave him. So, not good, right? So, they do leave him, guys. But before they leave the location, Devon hears a scuttling sound coming from the suit when they leave. Okay, remember that, because it's interesting. A noise, a scuttling noise, comes from the suit. They leave Kelsey to die in the suit. And they both think, like, Mick's really scared at this point. What if he's still alive in there alone and stuff? And Devon just tries to ignore it. Then days passed. Days pass and pass and pass. The police have been called in the school. Mick hasn't been to school for 3 days because he's so scared and traumatized by what's happened. Devon handles it a lot better. Okay? According to the police, Kelsey had run away. Nobody saw Devon, Mick and Kelsey go to the pizzeria. So they all think that Kelsey has run away. And then Devon, in his mind, thinks accidents happen. It was an accident. Remember what I talked about? Accidents happen. And payback. This was Devon's payback to Kelsey, and it was accidents happen. So yeah, Devon, you know, they're all 15 years old, by the way, so they're still kids. So I can understand why Devon was panicking and stuff about everything. You know, he didn't mean for this to happen, but he shouldn't have left Kelsey in the location. And it's been like a week now, guys, since it's happened. He can't be alive at this point. Devon thinks Kelsey cannot be alive at this point. But there was water in the kitchen. He could still be alive. Remember, guys, the water in the kitchen? So Devon thinks Kelsey could still be alive. He could have crawled himself into the kitchen and survived from just drinking water to keep himself alive. So they both did want to check. They wanted to go back to check if Kelsey's alive in the suit, or he's got out of the suit, or, you know, he's alive. But Devon wants to go on his own. Okay? Because he had a plan, apparently. Devon has a plan. So Devon says to Mick, do not tell anybody where I am. Okay? Even if I don't come back for a few days, do not say anything. Do not say where I am. Do not tell anybody where I am at this pizzeria. Do not tell anybody. Now, this is the ending of the story, okay, guys? It's coming up and it's pretty big. So please remember that this ending is incredibly confusing, but see what you guys think about it, okay? So, Devon goes back to the pizzeria because Devon has nightmares. He didn't tell Mick, but Devon was having nightmares about Kelsey. And that, like, Kelsey was a zombie. Interesting. Kelsey's a zombie, according to Devon's dreams. So he packs his backpack. He puts some tools in. He puts a hammer in because he thinks that the hammer's going to open the suit to try and get him out. Okay. So Devon goes back to the pizzeria. Taking a deep breath, Devon crawled into the building's outer entrance and then hesitated only a few seconds before slipping in through the side light, the little window. Once there, though, he froze, shining his flashlight around in jerky spasms. He half expected Kelsey, in the bloody bear suit, to loom up in front of him and attack. He was poised to escape back through the side light, but nothing came at him. He was alone. Well, alone except for Kelsey's body in the bear suit and the animatronic characters on the stage. Devon took a tentative step and paused. He listened. The building was totally silent. It felt sinister. Devon had the urge to run, even though nothing was moving. Nothing was chasing him. He quelled his fears and moved forward. Bypassing the blood-soaked bear suit in the middle of the floor, Devon did a tour of the entire building. He went into every room and shined his light in every nook and cranny. He'd watched enough TV to know you clear the building before you let your guard down. So he cleared the building, guys, just to double check, which is smart. Everything was exactly as they'd left it when they were here on Monday, except for the smell. The earthy metallic odour of blood had hit Devon as soon as he had stepped into the building. Another smell warred with the smell of blood too. It was sickly sweet, a nauseating smell. Devon was pretty sure it was the smell of decay, but he wasn't sure. Okay, He had put it off for as long as he could. With slow, shuffling steps, Devon approached the bare suit. He stopped when he reached the outer edge of the blood pool. It was easy to spot. The blood had blackened as it dried. It was now darker than the floor, and its outline stood out starkly in the glow of Devon's flashlight. Gritting his teeth, Devon bent over and touched the edge of the blood. He yanked his hand back. It was still a little sticky. Okay, that was okay. He was prepared for this. He didn't know how long it took blood to completely dry, but he had figured the damp atmosphere of the building would slow down the process. Devon took off his backpack and he pulled out the plastic tarp he'd folded and stuffed into it. Instead of bringing the food and bandages he had promised Mick he'd bring, he'd brought the tarp. He knew Kelsey couldn't be alive, and he didn't want to have to sit in blood to check Kelsey's. He set his backpack against the wall, and he spread the tarp over the blood near the head of the suit. He had to breathe through his nose, because here, the blood and decay smells were stronger. Kelsey had to be dead. Devon wouldn't be able to sleep though, unless he knew for sure. He trained his light on the bear's head. His muscles stiffened because he expected to see Kelsey's eyes staring back at him through the eye holes in the bear's head. But nothing. The eye holes were empty. Dark. Devon leaned closer, aiming the light down the holes. Why couldn't he see Kelsey's face? He checked over his shoulder to be sure he was still alone. Had the characters on the stage moved? He sucked in his breath and ran his flashlight beam over them. He frowned. He couldn't remember how they had been positioned before. He watched for several more seconds before turning the flashlight back to the task. He put his face closer to the bear's face. He still couldn't see anything. So at this point, guys, Kelsey is not in the suit. He's not in the suit. Weird, right? He had to take off the head, that meaning touching the bloody fur. Good thing he had prepared for that too. Devon dug into his pants pocket and pulled out a pair of his mother's rubber cleaning gloves. He put them on. Can't get the suit open because he wants to look fully inside if Kelsey's inside. So he gets his hammer and he goes into the torso of the suit and the head, and he tries to pry open the mouth of Golden Freddy. Okay? And he tries for so long and nothing's working. He can't open the suit. So he tries to open the mouth of Golden Freddy so he can look inside. He manages to get the mouth open a bit, and he looks inside. Devon lit up the mouth opening with his flashlight. He tilted his head and looked as far inside the head as he could. Nothing was inside of it. Really? Devon shined the flashlight into the head some more. For sure, empty. Had the bear's suit cut off Kelsey's head? Yeah, and done what with it? Ate it? Goosebumps sprang up on Devon's arms because he was reminded of his bounce house story. If a bounce house could eat a toddler, a bear costume could eat a teenager, right? Get a grip, he muttered. So he thinks, guys, that Golden Freddy has ate Kelsey up. Like chewed it up into pieces, so he's not there anymore. Somewhere in the building, something sputtered faintly. Devon whipped his head around and aimed his flashlight all around the room. It had sounded sort of like a fizzle, like a hoarse exhale. Had it come from behind him or in front of him? He rotated back quickly so he could inspect the bear suit again. Its bloody fur gleamed in the light, but it wasn't moving. So he decides to investigate even more, guys. So he thinks that Kelsey has somehow slid down in the suit. So when he's died, because he's not, you know, he's dead, he's just going to fall down the suit slowly, right? So Devon decides to put his hand... You see where this is going. Devon decides to put his hand in the Golden Freddy mouth, all the way down into the torso to feel around. Feel around, see if he can feel a body. So at this point, guys, the mouth of Freddy is about here. So he goes down to feel around. The mouth of Golden Freddy is about here when he goes in. He felt around with his hand, and he still didn't feel anything. But he heard something. Someone or something called his name. Devon! Devon jerked and started to yank his arm from the suit, but the mouth clamped down on his arm and locked shut with a simultaneous clank and crack. The crack was the bone in Devon's arm. Devon screamed at the searing pain that shot from his bicep all the way down to the tip of his fingers. Tears sprang into his eyes. He wailed in agony and fear. He also tried to pull his arm out of the bare suit. Bad idea. He howled and held very still. Sweat joined the tears running down his face. Moving his arm was pure torture. It felt like the bear was trying to rip his arm off his body. So, there you go, guys. So somebody calls Devon from behind him. Who? We don't know. Was it a ghost? Was it Kelsey? We don't know. It's never said. So at this point, guys, Golden Freddy's mouth has clamped down on his arm. So when he's trying to get, look around for Kelsey, it's stuck now. Golden Freddy's on his arm and it's clamped down and his arm's broken. So, he's screwed now, guys. Devon's screwed. It's over for him. He tries to call for help and stuff, and he tries to pull his arm out. No answer. Okay? And he does put up a fight, guys. He gets the hammer right next to him, and he starts bashing the Golden Freddy head to try and get it off him. It doesn't work. Okay? It actually makes things worse. The more wiggling he does, the more the head, Golden Freddy's head, is going down, going up and up and up onto his arm. So now while he's wiggling around, Golden Freddy is now like on his shoulder, almost sucked into the suit. And poor Devon, guys, he's so panicky that he throws up all over himself as well. He's crying, he's threw up over himself, he can't get out, he's panicking. Devon tries to think of a plan to see how he can survive. He was like, oh, I told Mick not to tell anybody where I am. Maybe you might come and see, maybe you might come and check out where I am. He wasn't going to bleed to death, guys. Although Golden Freddy was on his arm, there was a little bit of blood, but he wouldn't have died from blood loss, okay? Just a little bit of blood and a broken arm. So he wasn't going to bleed to death, okay? And he didn't bring any supplies with him in his backpack. He didn't bring any food with him. That's a shame. He didn't bring any water. And there was no way he was going to get to the kitchen because he tries to pull himself, but he's stuck, guys. Golden Freddy's so heavy, he can't move. So he's trapped there. And when his arm's inside the suit, guys, he feels something moving inside the suit. He thinks that it's bugs. So he thinks that the bugs, in his mind he's like, it was bugs, right? No, it couldn't be Kelsey. It's like he thinks Kelsey's still alive in there now, wiggling around. Or bugs, or like bugs on Kelsey's corpse. Okay? So this is when he panics even more. Panics, wiggles, and then all this wiggling is making Golden Freddy's head go up and up and up. He's getting more sucked into the Golden Freddy suit. And Devon was thinking, oh, I might have to chop my arm off or something. But that never happens. This is the confusing part. Okay, guys? I'm going to read it to you now and see what you think. Devon wiggled in one more attempt to free himself. The mouth opened even more. And Devon got a sudden glimpse inside the suit. He gasped. And for a moment, shock blocked his pain. Down low, past his arm, Devon could see a body. a dead body. Just like he thought he'd find when he came back here to check. But it wasn't exactly like he thought he'd find. The body he thought he'd find didn't have blonde hair. This one had black, curly hair. The body in the suit was not Kelsey. Devon only had a second to try to make sense of this before his shoulder was sucked into the suit. Devon screamed, but no one heard him. So that's the last we hear from Devon, guys. It's not the end yet, by the way. It's not the end. It's not the end of the story. It gets weirder. So before Devon's demise, he sees a body in the suit, and it's a corpse with curly black hair. That's the only description we get. It's a dead body with curly black hair. And then the Golden Freddy, sucks him in. Okay? So it's not Kelsey's body. Kelsey escaped, apparently. And he does. Because this is what happens. So if you remember, guys, Mick at school just says around that Devon's at home sick. Okay? Because Mick is not going to tell anybody where he is. Because that's what Devon told Mick to do. They're in it together. And it cuts off, guys. And it cuts to Kelsey. Kelsey is alive. Kelsey leaned against a column in the rotunda of his new school. He watched the other kids and he smiled and nodded at everyone who passed him, saying, "Hey," when someone said hello. His gaze kept returning to a couple of boys who lingered outside the front doors of the school. One of the boys wore all black, the other wore ragged jeans and a faded t-shirt. Other kids coming into the school ignored the boys and gave them scathing looks. Both boys occasionally snickered at the passing kids. Kelsey pushed off from the column and strolled towards the boys as they finally sauntered into the school. He stopped in front of them and said, "Hey, I'm Kelsey. I'm new here." Both boys eyed him, brows raised. He gave them each a big friendly grin. "So," Kelsey said, "any cool places to hang out around here?" End. That's it, guys. That's the ending of the new kid. So yeah, guys, what do you guys think about that story? Kelsey's still alive from being spring-locked and he got out of the suit. And now he's at a new school. The first thing he asks new kids is any cool places to hang out around here. So, what is Kelsey? What is Kelsey? Was this Kelsey's original plan? This is why it's so confusing, guys, because if this was Kelsey's original plan to lure kids into the pizzeria, why wouldn't he do that in the first place? Why wouldn't Kelsey say to Devon and Mick, "I found this cool location. I found an abandoned pizzeria. Let's go." And why would he go inside a Golden Freddy suit and die and get spring-locked on purpose? Doesn't make sense, does it? My only suggestion is that Kelsey did die in the suit, but then got brought back to life by Remnant, or is possessed by a spirit, by the spirit in the Golden Freddy suit, has now took control of Kelsey, and now he's like a zombie corpse walking around, possessed by a ghost. Or he's been brought back to life by Remnant, and he's possessed by something. That's my only suggestion. I can't think of anything else, because it really doesn't feel like, to me, that Kelsey planned all of this. You know, I don't know. We've got to talk about that body in the suit, guys. So Devon goes back to the location, and he looks inside and nothing's there. So Kelsey is not in there. We know at the end of the book that Kelsey escapes the pizzeria and he's now at a new school. Why does he go back? Why does he go to a new school? Why does Kelsey go to a new school? Why doesn't he just go back to the other school that he was at? Why has he moved to a new school? Does Kelsey have parents? Was it just all a lie? We know that this other Kelsey is up to something though. The first Kelsey's, you know, just is a normal kid to me. The second Kelsey after the Springlock incident is weird because he instantly asks about, you know, abandoned buildings, where are cool places to hang out. Let me know your theories on that and about the corpse, the black-haired body inside the Golden Freddy suit. Who is that? Is that a victim of Kelsey? Has Kelsey already lured other kids there into the location? We don't know. Don't know. Or was he just a victim from before? A previous victim from the old location and that corpse has been in there for 30 years or so? We don't know. Is that a recent corpse? Is that an old corpse? Is that one of Kelsey's victims? Don't know. Unfortunately, we don't know. That's what's annoying about this book, is that it's like another... This story is the most confusing, okay? Out of all of the stories I've read from Fazbear Frights, this is the most confusing one, and there's a lot of questions going on with it, isn't there? Was this Kelsey's original plan? Was it not Kelsey's original plan? How did Kelsey survive the Springlock suit? Is he possessed? Was he brought back to life by remnants? The scuttling noises around the location. Who was that? Was it a ghost? Was it a spirit? Was it the Stitch Wraith? We don't know. Who called Devon? Who called Devon when his hand was in the suit? Was it Kelsey? Was it a ghost? We don't know because it's never said. Annoyingly, it's never said. So, we don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Who is the corpse in the suit now? Is it an old victim? Is it one of Kelsey's victims? Does Kelsey just lure kids at the location and get them killed in the suit or something? Gets them killed at the location? I don't know. We don't know if Kelsey is a robot. We don't know if Kelsey's possessed. We don't know. Oh, it's very cool though, isn't it? I love that story. I love the new kid. It's really, really cool. Okay, guys. Now we talk about the Stitch Wraith story. Okay, the end part. And this is the most important Stitch Wraith section of all of the books so far. Okay? So the first part, we're back with Detective Larson. Okay? The original detective who's going around investigating the Stitch Wraith. Okay? So he gets a phone call from the chief again. The Stitch Wraith has been spotted again. The Stitch Wraith has been spotted at the old fire site. You remember that bizarre fire? The chief says to Larson. And it's the second time that the Stitch Wraith has been spotted there. So the Stitch Wraith keeps going back to this old fire site. You remember that bizarre fire? So it's a place that had a bizarre fire. And now it's just like a fire site, you know, abandoned. But the Stitch Wraith keeps going there. My theory is that this is going to be a burnt down location, like Fazbear's Fright, for example. It could be Fazbear's Fright. It could just be a burnt down pizzeria location with a lot of energy, which is why Stitch Wraith is always drawn to it. So yeah, it seems like this is where Stitch Wraith hangs out, at this old fire burnt down location. Okay? And then we get cut off to a new scene. That's all we get from that part with Larson. Time warp, new scene. Now this is the important part, okay guys? We get introduced to an old factory, okay? It's an old factory. Two people called Don and Frank open the metal doors and go inside, and there's a food truck inside with some benches, okay? So it's a public area where people around this factory, like there's other workplaces there, go and get their food, okay? We're introduced by a character. Remember this name. Dr. Phineas Taggart. Phineas. If you remember, 1:35 a.m, there was a character called Phineas who was looking for the doll. Who was looking for the Ella doll. for its special energy. Okay? Originally, I thought that Phineas was the Stitch Wraith. It's not. Okay? Phineas is a doctor doing his own special research at this factory. Phineas is a weirdo. Okay? Phineas has a lab coat on and he talks to his food. He talks to his food and he talks to objects because he thinks that all the food cells are alive, and he says like, cells, please process this food with love. So he talks to his food and he talks to his body cells. And the two people go inside and just stare at Phineas because he's a weirdo. But then Phineas closes his eyes like a mental shield. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. A mental shield when he closes his eyes. Phineas asked Reuben to set up his food stall there so he can eat there, and there's benches there. So Reuben's got his own business in the old factory. Okay, and other workers around the factory who don't work at the factory, by the way. It's just Phineas who works at this factory now because it's old and abandoned, and he has his own lab there now. Other workers, like workplaces, go to the factory to get their food. Now, Phineas goes on and talks to the people who ask him some questions about why he's a weirdo, basically. And Phineas thinking he's smart and stuff. He is smart. He talks about an experiment, okay? Not what he's done, but another person. So, being stared at showed higher electroactivity. So if you're being stared at by somebody, that person shows higher electrodermal activity. But if you make a mind shield, if somebody's staring at you and you make a mind shield, it can defend against that. It has less physical effects if you close your eyes and think of a shield. It's very, very sci-fi. Very, very sci-fi. But the reason why the book talks about that is because it wants to talk about human emotions. Human emotions are powerful. More powerful than bullets. Okay? So if you're staring at someone, that human emotion can affect them in a bad way. Okay? So, like, if you make a shield of yourself, it shows less physical effects on the human, okay? It's just showing, guys, that human emotions are powerful. And we'll talk about that in a minute, okay? Human emotions are powerful. Human emotions have their own energy, okay? So Phineas goes back to his lab, and Phineas works alone. Like I said, guys, he's the only one working in this lab. Reuben's got the food stall, and the other two people were just people around getting food, okay? Phineas studies the paranormal and its energy, okay? You see where this is going? So Phineas studies haunted items, okay? Now, this is the big lore part. These items are not powered by a ghost. They are powered by human emotions. Agony. Agony is supposed to be the most powerful emotion out of any other emotion. Happiness, love, sadness, agony, pain, suffering is the most powerful emotion out of anything. Can you see where this is going, guys? Okay? So, my Dawko plushie could be haunted not by a spirit, but by human emotion. Okay? So this plushie could move from here. This plushie could move from my shoulder to the back shelf when I close my eyes. Because it's haunted. But it's not haunted by a spirit. It's haunted by agony. Human emotion. So we get a description of Phineas's lab. Torture devices are in there. Dolls and rocking chairs, all from online auctions. So this torture device is haunted. It has energy on it. It's got an energy attached to it, and that energy is agony. Here's a quote. "As I expected," he typed, "extreme human emotion appears to impact its surroundings far more powerfully the more negative it is. Agony, I'm convinced, radiates farther from people than any other emotion. Love has its influence, but the experiments being done with water crystals have been misinterpreted. Just because love forms beautiful ice crystals doesn't mean it's the most powerful emotion. Yesterday, I mimicked the ice crystal methodology, and by allowing all the hurt and anger I usually keep well in check to burst forth, I watched water manifest a hideous crystal in the matter of seconds. Agony is the most powerful emotion out of every emotion a human has, according to Phineas. He also has flowers in his lab as well, okay? We've talked about flowers before, back in Fetch, okay? That flowers can influence emotions and stuff with the, what was it? The field point, the 0 point field, that flowers have emotions and they can communicate with humans. Phineas agrees with that. Phineas has flowers in his lab, but different flowers can radiate emotions and also influence us. So like a red paradise flower can influence a human to be more loving. Do you know what I mean? So flowers can radiate emotions as well and stuff. It's not just humans. You know, it's not really explained that much, but yeah. Emotionally charged items. Charged by agony. Okay? He's really excited for this shipment, guys. He's got a new shipment of emotionally charged items. Okay? And he has a lot of equipment in his lab, guys. He's very, very prepped for all of this. So, very, very sci-fi experiments. Very, very sci-fi. So, he opens the shipments of the boxes. The first one, some party plates. Okay? We don't know where these party plates came from, whether it's from the FNAF Pizzeria or not, just party plates. The second one, a wall mirror. And the mirror watched a man murder his family. Okay, so the reflection of the mirror watched the man murder his entire family. And again, it's charged by emotion, pain, suffering, agony. And the third one was an empty Jack-in-the-Box. The fourth one is an endoskeleton. The fourth charged item is an endoskeleton. Okay? Obviously, this endoskeleton was from a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Okay? We don't know what the endoskeleton is. We don't know if it was a Springlock endoskeleton. We don't know if it's a FNAF 1 endoskeleton, FNAF 2, you know. We don't know. Okay? But it's an endoskeleton from the pizzeria. Now, this is where it gets really deep. Okay, guys? So he's got an endoskeleton, like a robot. So in his mind, his plan is to try and activate the endoskeleton, not through electricity, but through agony. The energy of human emotion, to try and make it move around and walk around. Okay? Because these emotionally charged items, okay, can move around and can do crazy things. Because they're charged with an energy, not by electricity, human emotion. Okay? Agony. The most powerful emotion can do things like that. Phineas has a machine to move energy into the endoskeleton. Okay? So Phineas has a machine that can get rid, like let's say, the mirror. Okay? And the Jack-in-the-Box and the paper plates. He can extract the energy radiating from these objects and store them and attach them. And what do you think he's going to do? Phineas is going to drain the energy from these haunted objects and put them into the endoskeleton, okay? And Phineas can measure, can contain, and can capture agony. And he can study the emotions in all of these objects, okay? So we can see how haunted, like, how much emotion the thing has. So the paper plates could have a little bit of agony. The haunted mirror could have tons of agony energy. He wires it all up, puts all the objects together, and puts it into the endoskeleton. So all of this energy is going to be transferred into the endoskeleton, okay? He goes for something to eat, okay? Quick snack. He goes back to the lab. And the endoskeleton is now full of energy. Okay, he tests it, he looks at it. You can't see the energy like radiating, but you can see like tiny glimpses of energy radiating off the endoskeleton. Okay, now this is the deep part. Okay, this is the deep part. So, the endoskeleton is now basically full of this energy. So, Phineas goes and grabs some more objects. Okay? Number 1. A head. A 3-foot tall white doll covered in drawings. I'm pretty sure this is Ella. Okay? An Ella doll. So what he does, he pulls off the head of the doll and puts it onto the endoskeleton head. Okay? Then, number 2, Fetch. The animatronic dog has a battery inside of him. The Fetch doll. The Fetch animatronic. Okay? Fetch the dog. Fetch the dog. It's Fetch the dog. And Phineas found the dog to be most menacing. And the dog has been responsible for powerful agony. Okay, so Phineas knows that this Fetch animatronic has a lot of agony and power inside of it. Okay, so Phineas takes the battery pack from Fetch's heart, okay, and places it into the endoskeleton chest and attaches wires and stuff and activates it. Okay. The animatronic starts to move at that point. Little twitches. So the endoskeleton has now been activated. Full of all this agony and the powerful human emotions. The endoskeleton is now activated. It worked. Okay? The agony, so much agony inside Fetch and everything and all the other haunted objects has powered the endoskeleton. So, at this point, guys, the endoskeleton's just moving a little bit. But then suddenly, the endoskeleton turns and stares at Phineas. And the battery pack now, guys, Fetch's battery, is now glowing red. Radiating red. You know, bad energy. And Phineas tries to close his eyes and block the negative energy. Okay? Tries to block the negative energy, like I said, the force shield, okay? And then it cuts off, okay? So we don't know what's happened to Phineas at that point. Phineas hasn't came to get his dinner. So Reuben checks in on Phineas and goes into the lab. Phineas is dead. Phineas is dead. Now, he's not just dead, he's mummified. He's mummified. So Phineas, his eyes have disappeared. His eyes are gone. His eyes are gone. His mouth is gaping open. Mummified, okay? You know, like a mummy, like so withered and wrinkly and, you know, scrumpled up like a mummy. Like his life force has been drained from him or something, which I'm going to talk about. And Reuben thinks that Phineas got killed by electrical discharge from the lab and the endoskeleton. So it's either, guys, that the endoskeleton like grabbed Phineas and electrocuted him with all the energy, so much energy going inside, like it's literally like killed Phineas, or the endoskeleton has like took his life force or something, like absorbed his life force to get him stronger or something. We don't know. Okay? And on Phineas's face, a black tears on his face, like black tears, streaks of black all over his face. So yeah, he's probably got electrocuted, or, you know, his life force has been like sucked up to the endoskeleton, something like that. Also, the flowers in the lab are now wilting. Okay, so the healthy flowers are now dying. And I think that's because of how much negative energy this endoskeleton has had now. Okay, so the endoskeleton has absorbed so much negative energy of agony. It's that powerful that it kills Phineas and it wilts all the plants around the lab. And then, guys, we get a scene where all of Phineas's parts and the endoskeleton and all the haunted objects are inside a truck because, you know, Phineas has died. So there's a shipment, a movement of all of his parts and his, you know, his clothes, his lab coat and stuff, and all of the haunted objects and the endoskeleton. What do you think happens? The endoskeleton wakes up, looks around the truck, and grabs a cloak from the pile of clothes, grabs a cloak, and slips it on in the truck. And that's where it ends, guys. So yeah, that's the Stitch Wraith. Origins of the Stitch Wraith, guys. So, the Stitch Wraith is an endoskeleton, okay? And the endoskeleton has been powered by Fetch's heart and Ella's head and other haunted objects. Haunted not by spirits, but by agony and pain. It's amazing, right? And I'll talk about this in a theory later on in the week to do with agony and Remnant, the origins of Remnant. It's really, really deep. But that's the origins of the Stitch Wraith. So the Stitch Wraith is not a person. It's not Ennard. It's an endoskeleton made by Phineas, powered by Phineas, by negative energy and agony. And I think the reason why Stitch Wraith is going around collecting parts is because he wants to get stronger. So Stitch Wraith goes and collects the parts of, you know, Trash and the plush trap chaser. He's collecting all the parts. And I think he's going to attach those to him to become stronger, to get more agony, the energy of agony, and it powers him up, okay, keeps him alive. That's what I think he's doing. So that's why Stitch Wraith is going around collecting parts, is because he wants to add them on, upgrade himself, okay? Really, really interesting, right? And the endoskeleton is run by agony and the human pain, and it's formed a dark entity inside of the endoskeleton, okay? Shows what agony can do. And that goes on to the other objects, guys. Agony, it explains everything. The Ella doll is not haunted by a spirit. It's activated by agony and the dark entity of agony. Does that make sense? It could be possessed by a spirit, sure. But it makes more sense that the Ella doll and Fetch and the Spring Bonnie from Into the Pit, you know, with the black streak in his eye. It's all powered by agony and the location. You can see where this is going with the video game lore, okay? Shadow Bonnie, Shadow Freddy. Okay, the location's been haunted. The actual locations, the it's me, the hallucinations and posters moving on the walls and stuff. That can all be powered by the agony, the energy of agony. Okay, like agony is so powerful that it can create its own dark entity. Okay, and it can attach itself to objects and cause even more agony and pain to people. So, like I said, the Ella doll is possessed by agony and pain. and it's going to create even more agony and pain to people. The Fetch doll, the Fetch animatronic, sorry, powered by agony. If you remember when Fetch is being activated, the dark stain on the ceiling, the black stain, agony, okay? The agony and pain of that location has been seeped into Fetch, causing it to activate. Okay, does that make sense? So it's more like the location has stored all of this agony and pain that it can create further things to happen. The ball pit into the pit. The ball pit is the only item in the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location now still there. At Jeff's Pizza, it's just that ball pit. And that ball pit has absorbed all of that agony and pain that it can create, you know, time travel and memories of what happened there. That's a location where the murders happened with William Afton. Okay, and all that agony and pain has been absorbed into the ball pit. And it can create Spring Bonnie and stuff. It can allow Spring Bonnie, the past entity, the dark force of Spring Bonnie, to escape the ball pit and go around with the black streaks on its eyes. Okay? I said this before, guys. I said this on day one with the Into the Pit story. I said, I don't think that the Spring Bonnie Into the Pit is possessed by a spirit or William Afton. It's a dark entity. And the dark forces that are in all of these stories are from agony. We see it from the Stitch Wraith story. Agony is that powerful, it can create life. And that can go on to the games. It's the origins of Remnant. It's why Remnant exists. Remnant, what William Afton experiments with. It's the origins of William Afton's experiments, okay? Agony and pain, and it can allow objects to be activated. And that's how William Afton is still alive. It's because of the agony, the energy of agony and Remnant can keep him alive inside the suit. Okay, it's why Michael Afton's still alive. It's the origins of the Scooper. The Scooper injects Remnant. I think Remnant is not just agony, okay? Agony is an ingredient to Remnant, okay? I think Remnant is, you know, agony and molten metal and, you know, pain and a spirit of a kid, okay? And spirits and stuff. So agony is just one ingredient with Remnant. And I feel like this book explains agony very well, okay? You don't need a spirit, a human ghost, to possess an object. It can just be a dark entity, agony, okay? Shadow Bonnie, Shadow Freddy, they don't have to be spirits of dead humans. They can just be a dark force from the pain and agony that William Afton conducted in the murders. And I've always said that. I've always said Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy are not spirits. They are the dark force of what William Afton's done. Okay? It's corrupted the Spring Bonnie and Spring Freddy suits, Golden Freddy suits. Okay? And that's what I've always said. Is that Shadow Freddy and stuff are just like dark forces. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it does. It's a very long video, guys, because I really needed to go in depth with that. Because it's very, very important. The agony with the Remnant and everything. And that's why William Afton was experimenting with Remnant, because he wanted to see what it was. And it's agony. It's agony. And that's the origins of Remnant, is agony. Okay? So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. I know it was really long, I'm sorry, but really, really deep video today. And I will be making a separate video, what I've just talked about, because I know it's like, what, a really long video. So I've got to put it in a smaller video, just focusing on agony, okay? And the origins of Remnant, which can lead into more things. Like I said, Shadow Bonnie, Shadow Freddy, movement of objects, the paper plates in FNAF 2. Literally anything. Balloon Boy, etc. Doesn't need to be possessed by a kid. That can be possessed by, you know, agony and pain. Okay? Interesting, right? Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought. Are you mind blown? Let me know in the comment section. Lots of love, and I'll see you all next time.